Congratulations to all the five winners. This is actually quite tightly fought. So congratulations to all of you. Okay, now the overall winner. The overall winner out of these five teams, one team is the overall winner that wins the first prize and is going to be forever the winner of the inaugural edition of the Ken's Case Competition 2024. And that team is
Not so fast. Over the last 5 episodes, you listened to 10 bold and creative strategies for real-world quick commerce platforms. You heard students from some of India's best business schools define what winning in the rapid delivery space looks like to them.
Big Basket can win by leveraging the Tata brand to collaborate with Kirana partners in a cost-efficient manner.
Now, winning for us is simple yet ambitious. To make 5-minute delivery the new normal.
We don't see Flipkart becoming the Zomato, but the Uber Eats of this space.
In the end, only 5 teams remain. Remember, each team represents one of 5 major quick commerce platforms. Let's start with Swiggy Instamart.
Swiggy was between two teams. There was Buzzwall and there was Roi Rangers. The judges have come to the conclusion that the winner for Swiggy is Roi Rangers. Congratulations, Roi Rangers.
That's Praveen Gopal Krishnan, or PGK as we prefer to call him in our newsroom. He is the Chief Operating Officer of the Ken and the author of our newsletter, The Nut Graph.
Second company, Zepto. Zepto was between Ken Vision and Kenit. Again, two teams with very different strategies. The judges have made Ken Vision as the winner for Zepto. Company 3 is Big Basket. Big Basket was between 2 teams. It was between Metamorphosis and Voldemort. Again, 2 teams with very different strategies of how they want to leverage the Tata brand and scale and create Big Basket. The judges have decided that Metamorphosis made a much better case. So Metamorphosis, you're the winner. Next is Blinkit. Blinkit is between Outliers and Tech Ken. The judges have decided that the winner for Blinkit is Outliers. And finally, Flipkart Minutes. Flipkart Minutes, again, 2 very different strategies between 2 teams. One is Conspiracy Theorists, which went and did the whole thing with electronics and Myntra and everyone else, and Team Illuminer that decided to dark store as a service. The judges have decided that Team Illuminer is the winner for Flipkart Minutes. So we have 5 winners. Congratulations.
If you've stuck around this long, you already know what's at stake here. 2 months ago, we posed a challenge to B-School students everywhere. The problem statement was deceptively simple. You are a quick commerce company, you have $1 billion, how will you win? I'm Rahel, and this is the finale episode of 1 Billion in 10 Minutes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Sorry, good afternoon. How is everyone doing? No, nothing.
Good
Okay.
morning, but
Good morning. Everyone is very nervous to speak.
Welcome to the grand finale of the Ken Case competition. Last month, we held a virtual event where our top teams presented their strategies before a very accomplished jury of 5 judges.
The 5 judges are people who have seen probably millions of presentations in their lives. Sometimes I've presented to 1 or 2 of them as well. So I will say, please keep it crisp, keep it sharp. Don't waste time going into context.
When we decided to do a case competition, we knew we needed a panel of judges that was diverse and came with very varied perspectives on the problem statement at hand. And that is exactly what we got. Our teams were pitching to some of the country's top CEOs, founders, academics, and researchers. So far, you've heard snippets from their pitches on the big day, but today you will also hear what the judges had to say.
House rules. All of you have just 10 minutes, 5 minutes to present, 5 minutes for Q&A. At the end of 5 minutes, I will stop you. You may get a notification on your chat that essentially says you have like 1 minute to go or 1.5 minutes to go. At the end of 10 minutes, we'll stop and then we'll move to the next team.
One of the first teams to present was Roi Rangers.
Okay, hi everyone. We are Team Roi Rangers from XYZ Jamshedpur. I, Satish, and my team members Deepak and Aishwarya will delve into the investment strategy we have developed for Swiggy Instamart.
If their team name isn't ringing a bell, I have one word for you: Insti. Now, this is a team that went all in with tech. They wanted to up the operational efficiency of dark stores using AI and incorporate all sorts of personalization into the Instamart app. Another big part of their strategy was expanding to tier 2 cities by partnering up with Kirana stores.
In a sense, Swiggy is transforming quick commerce into an unbeatable ecosystem, which will redefine our customers' expectations while we outpace the competition. Thank you.
Question.
That is our first judge, Naveen Tiwari, the CEO and co-founder of Inmobi and Glance, both of which happen to be unicorns.
The three things that you said, specifically the two things on automation and personalization, frankly, all three, they are to be done by everybody. There is why is this? So you're basically saying, hey, I give you $1 billion. You're going to do what everybody else is doing. It sounded like that. By the way, the Kirana strategy is, I think it's been on the card for 15 years or so, and it's not worked.
Right. So I think one of the things that hasn't been done with Kirana stores is that, from a primary research, we identified that one of the advantages it's offer is that the local or the regional items that are present. So it's not that we are only going with Kirana stores in tier 2 cities. We're actually getting them as an option in our Instamart platform for very localized or very regional items. Some of the items in Kirana are sold out in open. So I think one of the advantages the users will get is the access to those items as well.
At this point, it was pretty clear that Roi Rangers was kind of feeling the pressure. Funnily enough, despite their all-tech strategy, most of the questions that came their way were about Kirana tie-ups. Our second judge, Deepak Shenoy, the CEO and co-founder of Capital Mind, India's premier wealth management firm, had another Kirana-related query for them.
Question, how many Kirana stores are you planning to have in total in this model?
So initially, we are planning that we will expand this in the pilot phase in 50 tier 2 cities. Kirana stores in 50 tier 2 cities. Yes.
So that's $750 million for 50 cities.
Yes.
About 5,000
About 1,000. There are nearly estimates of 5,000 to 7,000 Kirana stores per tier 2 city. So we want to try it out first in a pilot phase in 50 cities and 1,000 store per cities. So that leaves us about 15,000 USD per store.
USD per store. Okay. That's nearly,
10
if
lakhs.
it's 5,000 stores and $750 million, that's about 1 crore per store.
No, about 10 lakhs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. 5,000 crores, $750 million is about 5,000 crores. If you're doing 5,000 stores, it's 1 crore per store. How do you get profitable with that? Because it sounds like an extremely high investment where somebody else's store. This is almost an investment for a dark store.
So we are targeting that first we'll have to negotiate with the Kirana store owners first to onboard with us, for which we will need to give them incentives as well, and we'll need to tell them why this model works for both of us. So which is why there is such a high investment in the beginning, because we are trying to onboard as many of them as possible. So this is just an initial investment that we are going to invest in the Kirana store operations. Moving forward, we are going towards revenue sharing model also, which will generate extra revenue for us as well through this particular model.
Thank you, Roi Rangers. You can unshare your screen.
And with that, Roi Rangers' very tense 10 minutes came to an end. Next up was Team Metamorphosis from IIM Ahmedabad with their winning strategy for Big Basket.
Our bold strategy is primarily category play of high margin, quick commerce friendly categories by leveraging Tata's ecosystem, thereby driving sustained growth and ensuring long-term market leadership.
Now, Team Metamorphosis wanted to leverage the whole Tata ecosystem. The team's whole strategy can be summarized into 3 main bullet points. Number 1, they want to introduce something called BB Feast, which would essentially be meal kits. You get all the ingredients, you just have to do the cooking. Number 2, they wanted to launch medicine delivery with Tata 1mg. And finally, they wanted to launch something called urban services. Basically, you'll be able to book a carpenter, a plumber, cook, a cleaner, all within minutes on the Big Basket app.
It's these characteristics that give us confidence in the upstream operations, which we believe are cost optimized and stand strong as an elephant. With a large and trained fleet, we have the spare capacity to be agile like a cheetah fulfilling the 10-minute delivery that has been the norm for quick commerce. And the Tata way imbibes within us the resilience to undue risk, like a tortoise that knows when to step back. We see quick commerce evolving at a rapid pace in the future, and with a bold strategy focused on category creation and expansion, we envision Big Basket to rule the roost in the times to come. We really thank you for this opportunity to voice our thoughts. We're happy to take any questions.
A great one, yeah. Really, it's very, very impressive. The Big Basket feast point you mentioned and the pharma partnership with 1MG. It's really, actually, it hadn't struck me, so it just sounded really nice.
Now that was Naveen again. So the meal kits and medicine delivery were a hit, but the urban services, well, most of the judges weren't fully sold on that one.
It's a very different business model. Not to say that business is good or not good. That's not the point. I think just a very different business, very different setup, very different everything. It just sounded like a bolt-on as against something that just enhances the core construct of quick commerce that you were truly building. So maybe help me understand the thesis and the thinking behind that a little better, please.
All right. So for quick services, so when we actually saw the thing with our realist competitor with quick services, it's Urban Company. We saw their rostrum of services, and we realized that the gaps where they are is that you don't have a standardized service. So what we thought is the problem is you have gig workers there. So currently, if we actually have a professional workforce there who come from Tata Strive. Tata Strive is our skill building capacity organization, which builds skills for the rural and employs them in these kind of works. So specifically, what we felt is the standardized service is an issue. So currently, we are only launching three major services, which are grooming services and cook services, etc. These three will be extremely standardized. We understand that for 10-minute delivery, standardization is needed. We are not offering variety, we are offering standardization, but we promise you 10-minute quick service.
Okay, so far so good. The next question for the team was from Professor Rishikesha Krishnan, the director of IIM Bangalore. He, of course, brought a more academic perspective to this case competition. His question for the team had to do with how Big Basket could shake off its legacy.
It's more into grocery, and it took quite some time to really embrace quick commerce. Even now, it looks they're a bit hesitant. In fact, a long time they were saying we are not going to move to quick commerce model. How will you overcome all those obstacles and execute what you're talking about?
So specifically, if we see, there was some hesitancy, that I agree. But currently, we are actually scaling up. In the sense, Big Basket is scaling up from 400 dark stores. Now it actually plans to have 700 dark stores by the end of FY25. So we're scaling up at a really high pace. The issue that we actually felt was that the integration of the Tata ecosystem. We have the Tata ecosystem with us, which we can leverage. The problem is we don't want to convert this into a super app. So we are actually focusing on only the categories where we believe quick commerce is the way to go forward with. That's why we actually came up with BB Feast. Quick services is our boldest bet, but even that we actually focused on 3 standardized services, because standardization is where we can improve our operations, upstream operations like an elephant. That's what we talked about. Yeah.
I like the, using your current strengths and the Tata ecosystem in your pitch, and also being a little focused on areas where you actually can create a difference. Just in terms of capital allocation across the 3 initiatives, how are you thinking about the capital allocation? And in your view, which one is the biggest bang for the buck? In case you didn't have $1 billion and you had just 500 million, where will you put it in the 3 services, and which one will give you the biggest return?
Now that's Ruchi Kalra, the CEO and co-founder of Oxizo and Off Business. Fun fact, Ruchi and Naveen are the only 2 founders in India today who've started 2 unicorns each. Here's Team Metamorphosis' response to Ruchi's question.
So in terms of capital allocation, we are dividing money in terms of initiatives. For example, the service initiative will take around 350 million. The pharma initiative will take around 250 millions, and the BB Feast will take 200 million, because that is much capital less intensive business. In terms of if we have to prioritize only one initiative, we would focus on pharma, because the supply chain is already built and we have this model already running. So in terms of our model as well, we believe that the capital that will be required to put in will also be, we can also minimize if we have to just focus on some core medications. So that will provide us the most bang for buck if we have to go for that.
So that was Team Metamorphosis 10-minute presentation. Next up is Team Kenvision from IIM Bangalore with their $1 billion strategy for Zepto. This is the team that said, if we are given $1 billion, we will acquire PharmEasy.
This acquisition gives Zepto access to highly regulated pharma market without reinventing the wheel. It's a win-win situation. Zepto gets to leverage PharmEasy's license and trust to deliver medicine within minutes, while customer benefit from bundle options like grocery and health essentials. This increase AOV and customer coming back.
So, like with Metamorphosis, this is a team that wants to get into medicine delivery. The logic is simple. There are several regulatory hurdles to deal with in this space, apart from plain and simple convenience issues. So, they would solve for that by, you guessed it, acquiring PharmEasy for 4,000 crore rupees. Apart from that, the team also wants to expand the sort of categories available on the app. It wants to introduce more luxury, gourmet, organic products. It also wants to expand the dark store network and enter 35 new cities. Pretty ambitious and memorable strategy overall. Let's see what the judges had to say.
It's quite impressive, by the way, the aggressive approach you guys took in terms of an acquisition in a very competitive market. It's not very easy to execute your way into something. You have to do something different. So I actually enjoyed the fact that you took an aggressive stand on something which is specifically a very hard sector to get into, and that there are not that many players who do this. So therefore, once you do this specific outcome, I think it's a very interesting one. The only question is that why would you not think of a similar strategy when you were thinking about other product categories, to say, hey, let's acquire some similar players and then expand myself on the other product categories?
So for the other product categories, we can see a number of players who are diversified, and we can say that the market is quite fragmented in other categories. Whereas when it comes to e-pharmacy, we can see just 3 or 4 top players, and acquiring will give us exclusive right to the pharmacy market through PharmEasy. And apart from PharmEasy, I would say there are just 2 competitors, that is Tata 1mg, who is integrated with the Tata Group, and Netmeds. So that will give us a broader say, I would say.
Brilliant. Thank you.
On the second initiative that you had in terms of expanding into a much more premium segment, how do you intend to do that, and what is the expense towards?
So to give you an example, just like Blinkit has a very wide variety of offerings. If you go into chocolate segment, there are premium offerings as well, and the normal Cadbury and other basic brands as well. So that would be a part of the cost that we would be spending towards procuring. That wouldn't require a specific allotment of cost. That will just diversify the offerings that we have on our platform.
The only other question this team got was from Aditya Suresh, the head of India Equity Research at Macquarie and the final judge of this contest. For context, Aditya and his team have written some of the best reports on quick commerce in the country. And his question was about dark stores.
Maybe just one question from my side was, again, first I thought the presentation was really well anchored. So it's anchored to a few key metrics like AOV, etc. So that is interesting. But the specific question was also on, as you're kind of expanding your dark stores, etc. How do you think about the throughput per dark store in the face of competition?
Aditya wanted to understand how they plan to optimize their warehouses and keep costs down even after they expanded categories. Now, this question seemed to have caught Team Kenvision off guard.
So actually, firstly, while building dark store itself, while building new dark stores, we are planning to have a bigger dark stores, so that in future there's a scope while servicing from the same dark store to the greater number of customers.
Okay.
Thank you. In general, we will be using artificial intelligence and machine learning models to manage the inventories.
But minor hurdles aside, Kenvision's 10 minutes went quite smoothly. The judges seemed impressed by their presentation overall. And next up was Team Outliers from IIM Ahmedabad with their Blinkit strategy.
For us, winning is improving AOV and finally leading to profitability. And our time horizon is 30 months. So quick commerce is a unit economics game, and we barely operate with a margin of 2 to 3%. And we believe improving AOV is the best possible way to improve the margins. And we believe that scale alone won't create long-lasting brand. We need sustainable profits for that.
Now, you may recall that the Outlier strategy was all about sustainability and achieving profitability. They wanted to do it in 3 ways. Number 1, by introducing a subscription model. Number 2, through category expansion and introducing 4-hour deliveries. And finally, number 3, by introducing something called virtual brand stores. They came up with an interesting concept, something they call the Blinkit box. It's essentially this big yellow plastic box that's given to consumers who regularly use the Blinkit app and spend a specific amount of money on it. Funnily enough, once they wrapped up their presentation, they got quite a few questions about that big yellow box.
Quite an interesting presentation, guys. The collection box, that is, what is the investment you're posting towards collection boxes?
We are planning to launch that in metro cities where we actually have the highest tractions. So currently we have posted a expense of around 670 crores for that.
And the brand stores, that seems to be at least an approach to create some level of differentiation, because you're basically saying every brand come. Can you explain why and how being an early mover in that can be a benefit to you?
We will try to bring in novel and innovative brands, and we'll assess the demand, and we'll try to strike exclusive deals. So every brands want to get into q-commerce now. So if you are able to identify such brands and strike exclusive deals, we are striking out other competitors getting them. So that is a basic competitive advantage.
Hey, quick question about this collection box thing. Again, isn't there danger of technological obsolescence and things in that? I mean, how will you make it work?
We want to make it some sort of an aspirational kind of thing. Seeing a collection box as something that is installed in your neighbor's home, like it will create a curiosity to the other person. Like, what is this? So I make myself a premium customer to Blinkit. That's why I'm getting it. So they'll also start, okay, maybe I'll also get this thing at some point or other. So that's adding an extra layer of convenience. See, the inconvenience that we experience with quick commerce right now is the last minute calling to locate the person. So we are geotagging it. So the customer, the delivery guy can actually get to it like in a very easy manner, locate it, give in the pin, drop the items and leave. So that is an aspirational kind of experience.
Aditya Suresh had a more technical question for the team. In their strategy, a key metric that the team kept returning to was AOV, or average order value. So Aditya wanted to understand how that aligns with Blinkit's current strategy.
I thought it was an excellent presentation. Quite a few specific ideas, and it's all linked back to expansion of AOV, expansion of kind of categories, all these things. I also like the framing of delivery times. That relative concept is really interesting. I just had one theme, if I may, right? So you speak about kind of how Blinkit's AOV is going to go from 660 in your numbers to slightly above 800. I assume, I guess that's driven by category expansion. But one of the historical themes for Blinkit as a competitive advantage has just been that they've been more kind of, let's say, tele NCR oriented, and for whatever reason, they've been able to optimize their mix better, and they've got this higher AOV, right? So whilst these guys are at 660, the math works. The other guys are at say 450 thereabouts. So I guess the specific question was, as you think about expansion in more terms of geographies, do you see a risk of deflation to your average order values?
So even if we are saying that we are expanding to 2,000 cities, we are not going by a tier 2, tier 3, or tier 3 concern as such. So we are figuring out cities who have the purchasing capacity, who have the enough and more density, and we'll be assessing the data. We already have another arm, Zomato. We can assess that based on the data from there. So that's how we launch. And I think Evan will add on some more thing.
And one thing which is contributing to the increased AOV is the monthly, it's from the monthly purchase. So the monthly purchases from a family will be for an order value of around, it can go till 8,000, 6,000 and all. So that will also, it's basically the weighted average. So that will also contribute to the increase in AOV.
The final team to present at the Ken's inaugural case competition was Team Illuminer from IIM Lucknow. Now, this is the team with perhaps the boldest pitch in the competition. It's the team that said Flipkart Minutes is way too late to the quick commerce game. We aren't going to bother playing catch up.
However, we've identified a powerful opportunity in dark stores, one that could transform Flipkart's role from a player to an enabler. Why dark stores? They're the backbone of ultra-fast deliveries, accounting for 22% of QCom players' costs.
So this team said, we believe Flipkart Minutes should be the AWS of the quick commerce industry. We'll build the dark stores and lease out shelf space to all major quick commerce players. So every delivery they make, we get a commission. The judges were naturally very intrigued by the idea, but they had questions about how it would actually work.
Very, very intriguing and interesting. The dark store as service. I think the only place where I got tripped, frankly, if you ask me, was when you actually base this whole strategy on the incumbents. If the whole strategy is based on the incumbents, then the strategies doesn't seem to make sense, because these guys will not necessarily participate and should not actually in the beginning for sure. So maybe I thought it started off very differently, but I think maybe personally I couldn't understand why would it be based on incumbents.
So I can take that. So currently, the quick commerce market, if you look at the top three players, they all want to move out of owning dark stores. They've explicitly said we only want to work with franchisees because it's a very asset heavy, very risky sort of thing for them. Plus, a lot of their spend is actually focused on customer acquisition. So this is a leg that they've explicitly said they don't want to do, as well as the fact that getting franchisee players in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, the experience is completely different. So basically, the idea for us is to institutionalize this, make this look at this market gap, institutionalize this, lower the cost, and spread out the risk nationally, so that we can take a cut despite and giving some benefits of that cost saving to them in sort of kickbacks. So this is sort of what the market needs already, but this is just an institutionalizing step that we're following here.
Professor Rishikesh had a fair question for the team. He said there has to be some major risks involved with this dark store as a service business. Had they identified them, and how would they deal with them?
So we think three key risks would be associated with this idea. One being that we said we want 6,000 to 8,000 square feet dark stores. So one potential challenge here could be finding spaces large enough in probably a Mumbai or a Delhi. Second, players may not want to come to us because of high concentration risk. And third, there is a fixed expense and large capex. In case we don't get enough GMV, then we may not be able to hit the numbers that we've called out in slide 3. Just going point by point on our solutioning for each of these. For not finding enough dark stores, we feel that specifically in a couple of tier 1 cities, we may have a challenge. But beyond that, we do believe we'd be able to find that space. And already Blinkit and Zepto are looking at least 4,000 to 5,000 square feet dark stores which are being opened by them right now. On the second point regarding players not coming due to high concentration risk, we are kind of drawing a parallel to AWS here, the way a player would be dependent on an AWS sort of platform, because the value prop that we're bringing here outweighs this specific part of the story. We do believe that we can overcome that sort of a concentration risk, be it in the scale benefits or the standardization of our solution.
As expected, this team got a lot of questions about logistics. Aditya wanted to understand how two quick commerce platforms would be housed under the same roof.
So I think it's an interesting idea, but my understanding of the front-end applications is that, you're basically targeting a specific micro market from a specific point, and these dark stores are on a specific point in the map, right? And so whilst, for example, you may set up a dark store with, let's say, Blinkit, or on that operating system Blinkit, then are you saying that then you'll do the same for an Instamart in that same point of the map as well, or will there be non-competes in specific micro markets? How would that work?
So essentially, how it works today as well is that so the first answer to the question is we open 6 to 8,000 square feet dark stores, so that even one or two players can actually come into one single store and share like 4,000 square feet of space. The second
Blinkit
answer is that
and Instamart would be in the same dark store, is what you're saying?
correct, section law. Essentially, how it operates today as well, if you look at any sort of dark store space, all three of them actually line up right by each other. So this is not really that big an issue, because as it works today, everybody is competing in the same area almost adjacently. What we're doing here by accommodating more than one player in a dark store is essentially making them giving them flexible space. So if you want 3,000 square feet in one space, you can have that. If you want 4,000 or 5,000, you can have that as well.
Yeah, very interesting take. If you can't burn to win it, then find your own niche. So yeah, interesting.
And with that, all the presentations came to an end. The judges went into a breakout room to deliberate, and the teams waited 15 agonizing minutes to hear the results. So we already know the top 5 teams. We've heard their pitches. Each of the 5 teams went home with a 2.5 lakh rupee prize. But of course, only one team can be the overall champion. Drum roll, please.
Now, the overall winner, out of these 5 teams, one team is the overall winner that wins the first prize and is going to be forever the winner of the inaugural edition of the Ken's Case Competition 2024. And that team is Metamorphosis, who did Big Basket.
So there you have it. The winner of the inaugural Ken Case competition is Team Metamorphosis from IIM Ahmedabad.
I think Metamorphosis did a good job of building on some of the assets that Big Basket already enjoys, and also looked at how to leverage the Tata brand and Tata's other assets very well. So we thought that, the way they had put all of that together was very impressive.
I would just add something to that. I think coming into the competition, I had no clue that there was a way for Big Basket to actually win. But hearing the strategy that you guys outlined, somebody was not supposedly in the eyes of everybody as a winner in this category, I thought you guys outlined something that could help them win. So the $1 billion was going to to a strategy that probably showed the highest amount of return also on it, in terms of somebody who's behind. Use the $1 billion and you can kind of leap all the way forward.
And that brings the first edition of the Ken Case competition to a close. But this isn't the end. The Ken's Case competition will be back before you know it. And the next time around, the stakes will be even higher.
We wanted to do something that we would have enjoyed taking part in, or we would have enjoyed watching, or we would have enjoyed participating. And I think in that aspect, we did that. So I'm really happy. I think future editions of the case competition, which we plan to do annually, are going to just hold true to this. We are going to create problem statements, situations that are rooted in the real world, which is rooted in the real world today, rooted with real world complications and conflicts, and expecting to see solutions that truly understand and account for the real world. Every single case competition right now does not have that. So I think that is something that we are going to do. And it is going to be unexpected. It's going to be surprising. It's going to be different.
Thank you for listening to 1 Billion in 10 Minutes, a 6-part mini-series based on the Ken's first ever case competition. This episode was produced by me, Rahel Philipose, and Nuha Bubere. It was edited by Rajiv CN. Don't forget to like and share this episode, and also write to me at rahel@the-ken.com. Let me know what you think about this podcast, as well as which pitch you thought was stronger.